Welcome, 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 everyone, to season 6 finale, episode 41, with my wonderful co-host Evan Reynolds. Evan, how you doing?
Hey man, it was a splendid week. My schedule got all messed up from 4 Hour Friday with the whole draft, and then of course, as everyone knows, free agent frenzy yesterday, and then of course the day before. It's been a crazy week, but it's unbelievable, man. Thanks to everyone here, we were able to complete a season 6.
100%. It's been a chaotic, wild, exciting, heartbreaking, intense season. Kind of glad that we're at the end. Nice little break is in store for both of us, but we are going to miss talking all things hockey. But you guys know that when we get back next fall, we will be here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and on X. You can follow Evan at Revenev or us at Hockey at 2. You can go check out our website. We are trying to post articles on the regular. And if you want to write for us, if you are passionate about hockey, anything hockey based, email us at twoguys@hockeytalk@gmail.com. We would love to connect with you and have you write for us. We want to thank our sponsors up here. We've got a lot of things prepared for next season. We're already getting the ball rolling. This is how we do our off season. You know, we're looking at our Puckpedia and seeing where we can improve and where can we get the best talent. But right now, we're going to get into kind of the summary of the season, Evan. And before we get into the free agent frenzy and some of the big signings, I kind of wanted to ask you two things. What was your biggest surprise takeaway from this season? And what was your biggest aha or shock moment?
Actually, really weird. But I think in the end of the season, there was two that were kind of tied. One was Ken Holland going back to work, which I thought he was ready for retirement. After 3 days after he was gone, it was kind of a weird ending. The way it all came down, I felt he wasn't involved during the free agency, just before that, and you can kind of tell because he had plans for Broberg and Holloway already. Some people don't like him. Some people think we'll talk about that later. But I think that was a big surprise to me. And then the other one was at the end of the Stanley Cup against Dallas and Edmonton that seeing not Pete DeBoer. Was it Pete DeBoer? Am I getting my names mixed up?
Yes,
Who's the
Pete
Dallas
DeBoer.
coach? Yeah, Pete DeBoer.
It was. Now it's Glenn Billison. He has been hired in his press conference with Jim Neal.
So why the heck do you got to tell him about Glenn? You asked me a question. I'm trying to answer them. Come on.
I'm just correcting you on who is now.
No, I was not. I wasn't asking about that. I said I was just making sure I had the right guy. What the heck? Okay, no, it's all good. Anyway, one of the things is I was surprised he couldn't withhold his statement on pretty much blaming Ottinger. We talked about it already. So those were my two big surprises. I'm guessing there must have been a couple for you.
100%. I think the Four Nations was a big surprise to myself and many fans, given what it brought. Of course, it wasn't a perfect thing. Of course, there were teams and players representing certain countries missing. But the fact that it was so intense and high stakes, and the intensity between Team Canada and Team USA and how it ended and all the speculation, given that there was no All-Star game, I like that. And I was like, aha, you have something here that can make it work. Is it going to be in February? I mean, that's something to determine by the NHL and the NHLPA. Another kind of surprise moment, I think, is just Alexander Ovechkin beating a record. We know records are meant to be broken, but the fact that he was able to overcome Wayne Gretzky's record against the Islanders, you know, you saw the celebration on the ice. You saw what Washington was able to do this year after and again, I will admit, you guys can roll back and watch episode 1 of season 6. I did not pick Washington to even make the playoffs. I thought they were going to be bottom of the barrel. And here they proved me wrong. So maybe I should predict that again next season so they stick it to me and show me how wrong I am. So that was kind of a thing. I also, just as an aside, appreciated the love and respect and the outpouring for Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, and just everything that happened with Columbus this year, because that was kind of an intense thing that happened. Nobody knew what was going on. A lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. But they came together during the draft. You saw how Meredith was able to present, and the fans really came together and celebrated and shouted her name. That was great. But those are just kind of things. So
saying that, why don't we do this before we get into all the NHL stuff, because we are going to get swamped with this stuff. Why don't we go back to the draft, which was the last thing that happened, and we'll make that a part of my Revs Top 15. Okay.
Revs Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, man. Guys, first of all, Revs Top 15 was the sponsorship this last week here when we did our NHL entry draft party. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks to you, Pavel, for joining me. I want to say thanks to Brooke Laferno. Thanks to, I remember all the guys, Jamie Basco. Why can I not think of their names right now? I just erased all your interviews and everything. Oh, my gosh. This is terrible. I'm going to come up with them later. But thanks to all those that came on. They took their time. They did the interviews earlier. To all those that engaged us during live, many of you that were new to the engagement, thank you again. By the way, I just want to say thank you. So last show, we had 460 some odd people on when we did our last week Wednesday show. And then over 1,000 we hit this last Friday from X, staying on live, literally just from X alone, plus our other channels. So I just want to give a shout out, X. You are awesome. Right now, we are definitely appreciating you. So now our challenge goes out to all you Facebook fiends, all you YouTubers. We're looking for you on our platforms next season. Let's prove all these Xers and let's X them out and let's see your viewership go up. But okay, first of all, what was your impression of the draft before we get into the free agent market stuff?
I got to be honest, it was a little bit slow. It was really dragged on. Not much happened. Every year I hear, oh, there's going to be a lot of moves. There's going to be a lot of things happening. It never happens. Even the Noah Dobson trade, like they could have saved that for the actual draft. I get why, but it would have made it interesting. I'm proud of the players, the prospects that got picked. I applaud them going through all them. I understand that organizations wanted to save money, but it wasn't a good look. Now, I will credit the NHL to say that they did take a risk. They tried something new. It didn't pan out. You could take lessons from it. What worked, what didn't work. The celebrity cameos with Adam Sandler for Boston and some of the others that we saw. But I really think that it was drawn out, that it needs to be 3 hours. It needs to be quicker for picks. Like, teams already know what they're doing. And I understand little things change where, oh, well, this guy went here, this one went here. But 4.5 hours, Evan, it's exhausting. And that's just for us. I can't imagine for them over there, right? And some of the awkward Zoom calls and the fact that, you're one of the biggest sporting organizations in the world, and your Zoom calls or your Wi-Fi goes down or it's lagging like that, you got to iron out those kinks. Like, you should not have those issues. But your quick thoughts.
Yeah, no. So I got to be honest, it was a good draft for me. I had fun. So when someone told me and I actually had about, not tons, about 5 or 6 actually, that said, listen, watching the draft through your show actually made it entertaining and the time went by quite quick. I did have someone that doesn't normally get engaged in hockey and especially the NHL draft. They just said, I really appreciate the education around the draft, what it's about, what it involves, what these players of the future are. These people who don't have multi-million-dollar contracts, they really appreciated that part of it. And then the entertainment, and then the general hockey knowledge that was coming out. So definitely we tried to change it up and do something even a little bit more engaging this year. So from that part, I didn't recognize. So I went back and tried to watch it. And outside, after the top 5, yeah, it really slowed down. All right, after the top 6, after the not 6, after Hagen's was what, 7 or 8? I can't remember here, guys, just off the top of my head. So, but I will say, I really liked the 2 stories, the Brady Martin story. I like the Mason story with the guy who plays football as well, and then of course the Schaefer emotional moment, right? I'm his biggest cheer. I don't think he's the best player, but I definitely am the biggest guy in his corner. And I actually hope he has a number one overall draft career essentially around it. So, but hey,
Well, go ahead.
No, yeah, you want to cover something else before I move into some other things?
We're talking about the Islanders, right? And I know that they're kind of, they just missed the playoffs last year by a bit. You get Lou Lamoriello out, you get a new GM, you still have Patrick Waugh there, who, probably is on a short leash, albeit probably has some influence in the organization. You trade away Noah Dobson, but you then sign, of course, Alexander Romanov to a big contract.
Oh, hang on. Are you going into NHL talk, or are we finishing our Revs Top 15 here?
Okay, finish your Revs Top
15.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, we always have a come out segment for you, dude. Okay, it's all good, guys. So I do want to cover some other news just around that, everyone. So those of you that followed us, so the BCHL Sherwood Park Crusaders. Jeremy Laranger, he won the BCHL scoring title, was Rookie of the Year, got the MVP awards. Now, one of the things is it put him in a good place. So he was drafted by Columbus, round 7, 198th overall. That's quite a ways back in there. But he will be going to play in Nebraska Omaha, which I'm pretty excited to see. He is going to need to put some weight on. But he's a player, even though he is very small. And again, 5'9", he's sitting at 5'9", about 161 pounds, essentially. So keep your eye again on Jeremy Laranger. Now, the 2026 draft class, many people that are the pundits and insiders believe this. That class is deeper, further down in that first round and in further rounds, and potentially much stronger at the top of the class in the 2025. Very interesting. I don't know. I think Misa and Schaefer are miles ahead of many others. I'm not so sure. I feel it's deeper than the top 3 right now, but we will see around that. And hey, you wanted to talk about, remember, a Brantford Bulldog who was selected. Maybe give everyone an update on this.
So Mr. Alexander Karmanov, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that right, was the 177th pick in the Canadian Hockey League. And the OHL actually posted that this 17-year-old is probably the largest hockey player on the planet. He is 7 foot tall and 273 pounds. That is a massive beast. I don't even think Zdeno Chara, what is he, 6'8", 6'7"? Like, if this guy's going to be bigger than Zdeno Chara, oof, look out. He doesn't even need to skate well. He just needs to stand. And if he does 2 strides, and he's already from one side of the net to the other side of the rink. So, this kid is going to be a beast. Good luck to him this season. It will be interesting to see how he plays. I don't know too much about him, so you guys can let us know. He is a defenseman, which of course he is. But this guy's a beast. So
get this. That's 15 inches taller than the gentleman who I told you from Sherwood Park, Jeremy Laranger. 15 inches taller. Like, could you imagine the two side by side? I hope they both have a great career.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. And then we just want to give you a heads up.
Apparently,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I was just quickly looking at his stats for his time with WB Scranton Knights 16U AAA hockey. In 15 games, 4 goals and 6 assists for 10 points. So he can put it in the net. That's for sure.
Yeah. Or help put it in the net. Yeah. Kind of. All right, guys. And just a heads up for next year, the 2026, we talked about deep draft. The reason people are talking about that because Gavin McKenna is being looked at as a generational player. Now, I know everyone said that about Connor Bedard. They don't feel he's reached that. McKinnon was on the edge as a generational. I think people now would think he is. Nathan McKinnon, sorry. Now, Gavin McKenna is being touted. In fact, right now, so he's been making his rounds. It should be announced any day. He is going to be going to the NCAA. So his agent, well, not his agent, his advisor has had discussions. They're talking about what's best benefit. And frankly, talking to Keegan Bartram off air, Keegan just said, listen, he goes, watching and scouting and watching these games live in the playoffs, this guy is head and toes above. Do you come and get 200 points or do you go build up? And I want you guys to recognize he's not even 170 pounds, even though he's 6'1", Gavin McKenna. So he doesn't need to learn how to score and be creative. He needs just to learn how to put on some heavy beef and work against some adults. And then number 2, Keaton Verhoff, who was in Victoria and now will be heading with Cole Reshney, who was drafted by the Calgary Flames, heading to play in the NCAA. So a lot of players, and we're going to have a lot on that next year as we go into that part of the season. So I'm excited to see Gavin next year as everything kind of lines up. But anyway, guys, that's it for Rev's Top 15.
Rev's Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, we get to the good stuff. The NHL free agency. We talked about the Islanders, and we know that they're kind of retooling quickly on the fly. And so they, of course, trade Dobson, but they re-sign Alexander Romanov. They bring in Ethan Bear on a low contract amongst a few other smaller pieces, and including Tony DeAngelo for a 1 year, $1.75 million. What were your thoughts on these 3 big signings?
Okay, which were the 3? I was moving stuff around, getting stuff ready.
Alexander Romanov, Tony DeAngelo, and Ethan Bear.
Going to where?
To the Islanders, because we're talking about
okay, that was what you wanted to get back to. Yeah, let me just make sure I pull everything up here so I had it already with them. Okay, so, well, DeAngelo, we know, is just a depth defenseman at this state of time. That's why he got 1.75, right? Ethan Bear, same thing, just depth. I did find it interesting they picked up David Rittich for that type. So there is talk that they may not be fully healthy for their 2 goalies and for the start the season, and this might be one of the reasons why. Essentially, all they were doing is having people to fill in. They're going for another good draft next year. Like they've got some good players, but I don't think they have enough to be as competitive even as they were this year.
All right. Well, there you go. And speaking of teams in the East, the Florida Panthers seem like they can do no wrong. They re-signed one of their top defensemen, Aaron Ekblad. They re-signed Sam Bennett, and they get Brad Marchand for quite a ways away after everyone spoke that it would be almost impossible. Now, they are over the cap. You are allowed to be 10% over the cap during the summer. But, Evan, your thoughts on what Bill Zito has been able to do and why he constantly is probably one of the best, if not the best GM right now in the NHL?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I consider him the best. I think he's done good at making the right fit for a team. Some of this, we always talk about the state tax. We'll talk about that later near the end of the show, maybe. But I do believe they have the benefit. They're a winning franchise. That's what's helped Edmonton get people that don't want to go to Canada or don't want to go to a cold place in the winter. They want to be in a thriving place with fans, and they want to be on a winning team, and Florida's got that. They also have a lot of good chemistry. We saw that when they hoisted the cup and, let the least of the players take it first. It's the first time. I've never saw it done. Great idea, right? And so there's good camaraderie. I will say this, Sam Bennett at $8 million for what he produces on the best season ever, 50-some points, is not a value deal. So that had nothing to do with anything. And because of that, Brad Marchand and Aaron Ekblad had to take a cut. Like Aaron Ekblad, 6.1, 6. He's cheaper than Matthias Ekholm. I mean, that I don't care what you think about. I mean, right now he'd be the number 1 defenseman on the Edmonton Oilers. So I mean, in my opinion, not everyone's opinion. And Brad Marchand, man, he had at least seven on the open market to go. But he did get, because I heard most would have wanted a 4-year. He did get a 6-year term. So, but yeah, they found a way to make the culture a winning culture. and to keep that team is pretty much in all solid till 2030. 2030. So I take it you feel Bill Zito, you probably give him more credit than I do.
I do. I think he did a bang-up job, and who cares about the future of 3-4 years down the line? You have a chance to win the cup in the next 2 years again and become a potential dynasty. You've been to 3 cup finals and won 2 of them. How can you not? The team is excellent. You've got depth everywhere. Like, there's almost no holes. The only thing I would maybe tinker with, and of course they did go out and get a backup goalie, is who's the future. Bob has quite a few miles on him. But he can still perform. But like, are you going to be able to sustain that success level, right? Through an 82 game season plus 16 plus playoff games. So that's my only thing. But speaking of elite defensemen, and you mentioned the Edmonton Oilers, who were the runner-ups in the postseason. What are your thoughts on Evan Bouchard signing at 4 years, $10.5 million, and really cap crunching the Oilers organization, given that they could only get Andrew Mangiapane and today Curtis Lazar on cheap deals?
I don't think he cap crunched them at all. This is on Edmonton for these bridge contracts. Like they keep doing it with defensemen. They did it previously. The guy is the highest point producer. He's got more than Cale Makar in the playoffs. Like, his point production puts him right up there. Don't like some of his bad plays. Again, guys, go watch Paul Coffey. Everyone rants and raves. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You may give up points, but you make those points. So, and to say he didn't show up in the final couple games, well, I don't think any of the teams showed up in the final couple games. So anyone, I say anything that happened those final 2 games, the whole team was a mess. I just throw that all out there if you're trying to compare players on the team. But he had the ability to hit 11 to 12. I would have paid him 11. I wouldn't have cared about that half right now for the future. And if he would have given me the 8, I would have went right now at that. But yeah, so 10.5, he was worth 10. Noah Dobson got 9.5, and looks what that guy produces. Never had more than a 50-some point season. So the market was set, but again, they didn't sign before someone else. Remember Seth Jones? If they had signed Nurse before Seth Jones, the market wouldn't be set. So that's kind of my thoughts. That do you feel he held them captive?
I think he got a fair deal. Granted, the problem is they're paying a lot of their big guys. Draisaitl now $14 million, and McDavid's still $12.5, and he's due next year. So I think I understand why they did the bridge deal 2 years ago, but they should have locked him up back then to maybe get some cost savings, because he could have been 8.5, even 9, and that would have saved you, especially if you had maybe a 5-year deal with him. But I know at the time Keandre Miller was a comparable. I think Bowen Byron was another one. So that was kind of what they were looking at. But, Stan Bowman has his work cut out for him. You get rid of Arvidsson to Boston for a 5th. You get rid of Kane to Vancouver. You got to replace those goals. And Andrew Mangiapane could potentially bring some of that. But is it enough? You lose Connor Brown to New Jersey, which we'll get to in a bit. But the Oilers still have some tinkering to do. And goaltending is still a big question mark.
Let's go. We'll wrap up, because they were also in the Stanley Cup with Florida before we move on to some other teams. With the Oilers, what was your thoughts? What was it? Trent Frederick was 3.85. So he was barely below Arvidsson. It's like he was the new, because really he had nothing on the cap last year, the way it was all done, right? Or was Trent, you think, the new Evander Kane, and Kasperi Kapanen is supposed to be the new Arvidsson? Yes. Because Kapanen, people are complaining at 1.3. I'm good with that. Trent Frederick, that's $2 million a year too much to me, man.
Yeah. He hasn't really proven anything, and the fact that they didn't budge on either or. So you're going to give Trent Frederick 8 years, fine. Drop the AAV. You give him shorter term, fine. Give him the 3.8 or 4 years, whatever it may be. But
can I ask you this?
Too much. Go ahead.
Can I ask you this? If Edmonton is the desired location and Connor McDavid's there, and Connor Brown leaves once more, Corey Perry leaves once more, right? Evander Kane wanted to be here, but they said, "Oh no, that's too much." I think this was because he's not a Stan Bowman guy, right? I think that had more to do with it. I would have kept Kane this season and not worried about that, especially in a contract year, fully healthy finally. The guy that they need, especially come playoffs, like it or leave it.
Well, questionable penalties in the final. I think that kind of threw him off.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
And not even shaking the hands of the players after.
Okay. So where are all these discounts? Why is nobody signing in Edmonton now for a discount? I'm seeing
they were last year,
but they're done. So they go to the Stanley Cup twice. Now no one's. I haven't saw a single discounted contract. Actually, Kapanen probably took $500,000 less and could have got almost 2 on the open market. But no one else is, and so your team's not going to do much. And I'll tell you, it kind of is noticeable. Bouchard took out. I mean, he could have pushed for 11. Draisaitl could have pushed for 14.5. But essentially, these guys aren't taking much of a hit at all. Yet they want to have a great team around them. Guys, look down in the southern states at Florida. When someone takes more, someone takes less. And it's time that some of the big boys start taking less. I'm actually a little bit ticked about that.
That's fair. And speaking of big fish in the free agent frenzy, Mitch Marner has finally signed an 8-year, $12 million contract with the Vegas Golden Knights, making him not only the highest paid player in Vegas, although Eichel's coming up here, so he's going to have contract negotiations with the team, but he's finally out of Toronto. That core 4 is done. The saga is over. Your thoughts, Evan, on this move for Marner, for Vegas, and where does Toronto go next? And we're going to get to one more thing about Vegas. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I'll let you come back after I finish up this Mitch Marner piece. I wrote up a little piece that so I wouldn't forget my points. A couple things. So Mitch Marner, there all the talk about him and Vegas and did they actually cheat again? But that's cheating. Did they cheat the rules with it? I know that Kelly McCrimmon is sick of it. People saying that. He had his own wife talk to people during Four Nations and talked about living in Vegas and lifestyle and stuff like that. He already knew that this could be a possibility. They're going to search. So number one, there's that. The other two is it had leaked. I couldn't bring it out previously, but it had leaked that someone in the real estate business actually opened up and shared that he was searching for something 2 weeks prior to the actual free agent day. So that kind of got out there, that news. But I do want to say this. Kyle Dubas was fired. He wanted to trade Marner in 2023, and Shanahan fired him. Of course, Shanahan's gone now, and now Marner walks for free. You knew that was happening because they're asking him for a trade. If you wanted to keep him, you don't ask him to trade to get the whole thing. There was theories that the jerseys came out. Apparently, they thought there was tampering because of the jerseys being out. Well, sorry, guys, they have jerseys pre-made already, and they'll put 3, 4, maybe 10 out in a store, a whole bunch of them, and then the rest you have to order. That's how it works. And it's common to have those internal. And then I do want to say this. It's kind of interesting. So the Vegas Golden Knights from the 2015 Connor McDavid draft year have now picks number 2, picks number 4, and pick number 5 all on the Vegas Golden Knights because that's Jack Eichel, of course, Mitch Marner, and Noah Hannafin all in there. Doesn't that sound somewhat like Florida, who had the 2014 draft and had pick number 1, pick number 2, and 4? Very interesting around this. So good for Mitch. I think that Vegas just made themselves, even with the loss of Pietrangelo, who is likely never going to play again. It's pretty much been all but said officially.
100%. We wish him all the best. He's going to have surgery. It looks like it could really be affecting his personal life, and you never want to see that. There's a life beyond hockey. So we wish Pietrangelo all the best. I can't imagine that. And during the press conference, I know Kelly McCrimmon also kind of scoffed at the fact that people or reporters kind of talked about how players like Hurdle and William Karlsson aren't on the trade block, and the fact that media would make up these reports and silliness. Well, I got news for you, Kelly McCrimmon. Marc-Andre Fleury didn't just leave because the misfits and the raggedy bunch that you had in your first year, they were all traded quickly and last minute. I'm sorry, but there is a perception in Vegas from the media side and from the fan side that if Vegas doesn't meet you, if you're not a shiny new toy, they're done with you. They will trade you away if you don't fit their mold. And so that is why I will be intrigued to see how the Marner contract goes, right? He has a lot to prove. He has to really step up, given not only that he's the highest paid player, and you look at Mark Stone and you look at Eichel, they've won it. They've done it for their organization. They're good. But you look at players like Marc-Andre Fleury, who was there and gave it all, and then they just traded him without even letting him know. And so to me, I understand Kelly McCrimmon trying to protect his organization, protect his owner. But I got to be honest, your reputation precedes you because it comes out. We see it, right? Yeah. People know what Vegas is all about. You're ruthless. Yeah, you're ruthless, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
So I do want to say, remember that no state tax? This is a good time because I want to specifically hit it. TSN, just if you guys haven't saw it, they actually brought up a graphic, and the comparison was done for the $12 million contract. If he signed to 12, because if you think about this, they would have paid him 8 years, $12 million. I think they would have went to 12 and a half, but it still wouldn't have been enough. I'll tell you why. 12 million in Toronto, your take home is 5.6 million. 12 million in Vegas, your take home is 7.6 million. There's a $2 million difference on that exact same contract. And even if they went that extra $500,000, you're still losing half. So now you're talking about a difference of 1.75 million. And not to mention how much scrutiny lies in the Canadian markets. And if I can say anything, what I hope this has shown, and we see it with all the superstars or the star players of Canadian teams, Canadian fans, do what you can to protect these guys because people are idiots out there in the community, stalking, watching, death. Like Edmonton, some of you guys, why would you give death threats? I mean, to even podcasters because they predict wrong. It's just like, that's ridiculous. Calgary. Don't act so innocent. You just have nothing to talk about right now. It's no different. Like people, they say, oh, look at Edmonton burning stuff in 06. You were burning stuff in 05. I mean, when was the cup in Vancouver? They were burning stuff downtown. And Montreal. Yeah, you're no better. You guys go flip cars on the streets. So fans, I get being fanatical. But, no wonder why I was so mad last week when we talked about winning the cup for the Florida Panthers. And I'm disgusted by their sportsmanship. I feel like that for fans. It's like, can you just let it be a game and enjoy it? And when you're done the game, move on and live life. Don't live with hatred. Oh, my gosh, these guys.
Well, there's no easy way to transition this, but I will say that I think fans just need to be better. I also heard there were some rumblings about what happened with Evander Kane. We won't get into it, but yeah, just be better. It's not cool.
Well, pub isn't that too, right?
Yeah. Like some of the things that have been said. I will say Nick Ehlers is still out there. He's the next probably new shiny toy that people are looking at. You've reported a little bit about it. Give us your take because it sounds like Carolina Hurricanes are in the running. But there's a few other teams that are kind of sniffing around, such as Toronto and I believe Dallas. With what cap, I know, but I know he will go back to Winnipeg and a few others.
Yeah, well, the Dallas thing is around Jason Robertson. I'm not quite catching why they're trying to unload Jason Robertson still. Yeah, there must be something that is not been reported yet. Toronto sounds like they're out of the picture, and now. Interesting enough, I did not know, but according to Frank Saravelli of the Daily Faceoff, it looks like he says don't count the Capitals out of this, which, man, that would be probably an interesting mix. They have a very large team, and so a few smaller players. So Ehlers could end up being a Capital. I still feel like it might be the Canes. They got a lot of cap space, and they have a lot of potential right now.
And Ehlers wants to go somewhere quiet, not a lot of media presence. He even thought Winnipeg was a little loud. And, we all know that although a Canadian market, it's not as loud as some of the other ones. So it'll be interesting to see. And before we get to the next kind of a few more trades, there was a little bit of rumblings about Isaac Howers, who was a former Hobey Baker winner last year of the Tampa Bay I know there was talks, and I even said I thought he'd resign and stay with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It sounds like now he's in the market to being drawn and traded. It sounded like he may be moved at the draft. Oilers thought they were kind of the front runners. There's a bit of a snag on the Tampa Bay end. We'll see what happens. Have you heard anything else about the situation?
Yeah, so the rumors about the Oilers trying to trade for Isaac are true. This situation actually is still ongoing, just as of today. So it's true. It was happening. The Lightning wanted. So right now, what's happening is there's teams that are willing to pay what Tampa wants, but Howard has no interest in going to those teams and even signing, because the idea is he can talk to them and they can see if they can do a sign, right? So they need the sign and trade concept with it. So the only thing it's not fully understood, it sounded like it was a first round, and Tampa Bay, Edmonton is the best of that. There is no official other name that has actually publicly come out, other than just rumored, whereas there's some pretty solid information that Vancouver has been in and put an offer. So the trade talk is still ongoing. It's still possible, but it sounds like they got to up their game. And like you reported, the Oilers don't really have any space left unless they're unloading Henrique or something along that line. And we don't know about that, but Brisebois, now they'll get a second compensatory, but he has to be signed by the end of July. Okay. So by August 1st, it has to be done. Otherwise, he's a UFA. And got to face it, why would Howard even want to do anything if you're going to be a UFA at the end of the month? So, yeah, truth, if I was Tampa, I think they're waiting it out. I expect that something's going to move within a week here.
Awesome. And speaking of free agents, it was just recently announced, I just noticed this, that the Islanders have also secured KHL star Maxim Shabanov. So we were given a bit of an update about him from Patrick Conway, who's our resident-in-chief KHL writer. Great insight. But I know that we had a lot of information, even from Jimmy Vasca, about him potentially going to the Flyers. But now he's going officially signed his contract with the Islanders. Last year, he had 23 goals and 67 points in 65 games. He's going to have a good impact. Once again, the Islanders, don't count him out potentially being a threat next season with all the pieces they've been moving. Your quick thoughts on this young Russian prospect?
Yeah, so if you guys go follow me at Revenev on X, you'll see a few of the different thoughts. I did put it out there. I think he can play on your top six on that second line. He's essentially, this was his first year at like over a point per game. Last year, he was just under. And then, of course, the season before, he just didn't play enough games. So he is fairly young. I believe he's 24. I posted it. He is a smaller player, so he's got to fit on the right team. It was looking like Philadelphia would be the front runner originally. But, you know, the whole thing with the interpretation and coming in from Russia, as always, people misunderstand or misread things on this. So I see him going there. It's a great young team where he feels that he's going to get a good shot. So I think it's a great deal, man. I think, hey, why not, right? Free.
And let's just be honest. It's not to say that the reports are wrong. It's just that maybe he changed his mind last minute, or there was something offered by the Islander organization, maybe more ice time, maybe something like that, in order for him to be that. So
that's exactly
you have to understand there's a lot of information shared. There's a language barrier sometimes, so things can change and be misunderstood, as we've known in previous articles and what we've shared. So, but we wish him all the best. It'll be interesting to see. Now, Carolina, we kind of alluded to them. They also pick up Keandre Miller from the New York Rangers in exchange for Scott Morrow, a conditional first-round pick, and a second-round pick in 2026. Your quick thoughts, because they re-signed him as well, Keandre Miller, for 7 years with the Carolina Hurricanes, because he's going from kind of a more offensively minded north-south zone hockey style to a more defensive sound of Ron Brind'Amour. Your thoughts on Keandre Miller?
So same draft year as Josh Morrissey and Evan Bouchard. Good draft year, actually, if you think for defensemen, right? I remember Evan Bouchard's comparables were Josh Morrissey and Keandre Miller. So that is kind of interesting when they all move. I think a great move for Carolina. They're wanting to get younger on defense. Let's see where this leads someone like Brent Burns now.
100%. He's getting up there in age, and he's probably looking for one more contract to be able to make an impact. Right-handed shot defenseman, big grizzly man, and a great beard. So we'll see what happens there. And in other news, I know that there was a bit of a trade for prospect with the Montreal Canadiens and St. Louis Blues. Zach Bolduc, a right winger, goes to Montreal because they had a plethora of defensemen, and they send Logan Mailloux.
They're both players.
On the show and kind of a questionable past when he was under 18. But what do you think of this trade?
Well, first of all, let's be honest. Logan has made up for a lot of that since that time when he was younger. He's one of the few that have shown that they actually have changed their character since they were younger. No, I actually knew that the trades were going on. I was talking with a few out in Montreal. I didn't expect this one specifically because Montreal really wanted Kyrou. That was the big cheese. And then they realized, man, this guy could fit really well, especially, when you're dealing with a Quebecer already. So I think that was a great deal to make their change and moves. They have a lot of the same player in Logan with what they have. So good on them. Montreal, again, continues just to shape themselves into a well-rounded team.
100%. And they did trade away, I believe it was Caden Primo to Carolina for a 7th round pick. So, of course, they have their tandem in net. They're happy with what's going on. I know we talked last week about Carey Price and his, lack of being in the Hall of Fame on the ballots. But he still has time to get out there. But he's also got, I think, one more year left on that big contract. So they're going to have to start paying some of their other big guys. And of course, the NHL has announced officially with the NHLPA that the Olympics are happening next year, and they're going to continue to happen.
Just because that's not just NHL, that's all around.
We'll get to that, but I'm getting to that.
Okay, but you're talking about something that's no NHL. We wanted to talk about that in
Around the Rink. Getting to the NHL part. If you let me finish, we'll get to it.
Well, then you shouldn't have talked about that piece, though, is what I'm saying.
I was trying to. And you interrupted me so abruptly.
It's because you keep talking about stuff that goes into segments.
This is an ongoing thing with you, Evan. You continue to dampen my style, right? I was getting to that. So, speaking of the Montreal Canadiens, they also now I lost my train of thought.
I know.
They've been moving up a few pieces. But another team to keep an eye out is the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you get Nicholas Roy from the Vegas Golden Knights. You bring in Matticelli from the Utah Mammoth, the first time ever a trade between the two teams. What do you think of Toronto, given that they've lost Mitch Marner? What do you expect from them and Brad Treliving, given that you've signed up your second-line center, if not third-line center, with John Tavares? You have Austin Matthews, Nylander signed. You have your goaltending tandem with Woll and Stolarz. Murray heads over as the third goalie for Seattle. Quick thoughts there.
I'm not really sure what to think about. I thought they should have got further last year already with the team that they had. They seemed destined, but they did play the Stanley Cup champs that nobody could beat. So I actually think this last year, Toronto was kind of cursed with some of the things that Edmonton were when they took out Colorado that year. So I think Toronto's quite situated. I'm just not sure. Like, I feel like there's too much pressure on Nyes to be a superstar. That's all I'm hearing. 1 good year, and everyone believes that he's that next one. I hope for Toronto fans it's true. But I feel like they're missing someone, and that's where I was like, Ehlers would be that replacement potentially. But I think the team's shaped good. I don't think they have a lot to do.
And speaking of some other teams, we talked about St. Louis, but they also signed today Pia Suter to a 2-year, I believe, $8 million contract. Let me just double check my exact number just to make sure I have the right amount. They waived Nick Leddy, their defenseman. $2 million, $8 million per altogether, so $4 million AAV per season. Your quick thoughts on St. Louis?
Yeah, 4.13. Yeah, they keep doing a lot of the little what would you say? The little dabs. They dab a little bit here, dab a little. They also picked up Nick Bjugstad at 1.75, who was in Edmonton and a longtime resident of Arizona. So that was interesting. They re-signed, as I think you mentioned before, Joe Hofer. And just everything that they're doing it well. It's a slow build, but next year, I definitely think they're in the playoffs again. They're well suited. And as long as Holloway and Broberg, their free agent, which, by the way, I think they're very happy with paying the prices they did in the end. But long as those two guys who have had quite a few injuries can stay healthy, I think they could have a good year.
Yeah.
But there is the Kyrou piece still. And again, I don't know why they're trying to move Kyrou unless there's something going on, like we're dealing with Jason Robertson.
100%. And I did forget to mention that Jonathan Drouin also signed with the Islanders for a 2-year, $4 million AAV contract. So, if that's their second and or third line center, I mean, he can play on the wing as well. When he did in Colorado, he kind of resurged after having a really difficult time in Montreal, kind of reinvented himself with Colorado, but just didn't have the gears, and Colorado had other goals. So it's interesting to see there. Now, one team I wanted to talk about in the Pacific quickly before we slowly move on is the LA Kings. And Ken Holland had a very busy, happy trigger finger. He signs Corey Perry to that big contract. He brings in Cody Ceci for a 4-year, $4.5 million, which a lot of people kind of raised their eyebrows at. And I had some discussions about that. They bring in a few other pieces. But it seems like he blew a lot of his money right away for the team. Your thoughts on what Kellen Holland did for the team, and was it good enough to help them beat the Edmonton Oilers?
No, and they lost Gravikov also. So,
Gravikov.
did I say it wrong? And there I go again, eh? Interesting enough, it's just like I was like, what are you doing? Do you just want to spend? He never did that much signing when he was with Edmonton. I guess he'll tell you he never had cap space, so he didn't know what to do with the cap space. So he says, "Hey, here's some money. Who wants to come to LA? Who wants to come to Disneyland?" I don't know, but I felt like he was handing them out like he was Oprah. Those contracts.
Well, he did. Yeah, I mean, he did sign Brian Dumoulin as well. They did get rid of one of the younger defensemen. The name is escaping me right now. It'll come to me in just a second. They re-signed a few younger of their prospects.
So, can I just say this? This is an interesting thing going on. So this is factual. Well, the first one's alleged. The other two are factual. So allegedly, there was a trade package for Rantanen, but he did not want to sign in LA. Now, we already know that there was talk that Brad Marchand and Rasmus Anderson also last year, they wanted to trade for them, but they had no interest in playing in Los Angeles. So that if that's all true, that's not good for the LA Kings. And could that be what's happening where they're now starting to overpay right now because they don't want to lose this window with the players they have?
It's possible. I mean, they do still have quite a bit of cap space, and you have to do something. Jordan Spence was the young defenseman that I don't know why they traded him to Ottawa. So good pickup for Ottawa, but and it was only a 2025 third round pick. So, I mean, this is a good young player. I still think that they could have done something more. I understand what they're trying to do, but I don't know if these are the moves that are making you competitive against Edmonton, let alone, let's say Vegas faces them in the first round, or a Vancouver, or a Calgary. Is it enough to get you over the hump? Hey, Jordan, good to see you. So the way I look at it is like he was a little trigger happy, but I mean, they did what they could. Now, one of the most bizarre contracts, I will say, Evan, that I was very confused about this season was not only Tanner Jeannot for Boston at 5 years at $3.4 million, because I think this guy is being highly overvalued. I mean, Tampa overvalued him and overpaid for him at the draft. But he does fit the build and the mold of a Boston Bruin, but I don't know what Boston's doing when they're supposed to be retooling, unless Don Sweeney believes they're going back to the postseason next year. Your quick thoughts, because I don't think with all the teams in the Atlantic that they're making the playoffs. Do you think they're making the playoffs?
No, I don't think they are, but I think that Sweeney must think they are, because even picking up Arvidsson Why would you do it? Like, it just, I mean, that's a guy who wants to go to a competing team, and there must have been sold on it because he had a no trade clause in place, or a no movement clause, whatever it was. So they had to get permission. That means he would have had to have been able to be convinced by Sweeney that, hey, we like you. We'd like to pick you up. So, because I would think Arvidsson, I mean, he went to Edmonton to win a cup, not just get a payday. So,
and breaking news here, I'll say Brent Burns, as we just talked about it, has signed a 1-year deal with Colorado Avalanche. So there you go, guys.
There you go. Hey,
Brand
great news. Way to break it online. Hey, while we're talking about that, let's move over to San Jose for a minute. So Kurashev, who was playing with Bedard in Chicago, I liked him as a Russian. He now has headed over to play with the San Jose Sharks, another great extra player. They're looking good, the San Jose Sharks, especially picking. I'm interested to see, because Sam Dickinson should be ready this year to make a go at it. I think Michael Misa is ready now. So 3 out of 5 that I spoke to, they say he's ready. Now, one thing Kurashev did say, he goes, I got to tell you, Connor Bedard had a ton of pressure on him. He says he handles it with class. He's a very special player in the way he handles it. But, and he talked about how they were great friends, and says, but he just does a good job with the pressure. I wonder if the pressure and the previous coaching regime and then the changes had really taken its toll. I'm willing to go on a limb and say this year you'll see a point per game player now from Bedard. I think that there will be a change. And off ice, I am also hearing some of the talk. I know we don't have nothing on Chicago specifically, but he's bulked up. He's got much stronger and even a little bit faster already. And that was part of him taking things seriously. I was told that he had an injury. That was false. There was no injury when he didn't go play for Team Canada. It was all about off-season training because he had to get his game back to an elite level. Interesting enough. 100%. Oh, and Vlasic. And Vlasic, right?
Yeah, they bought him out. He was one of the ones that bought out. I was surprised they bought him out, given that they're not exactly going for it. So you're paying a cap for something that you could have kept him, being a veteran, potentially maybe trade him at the deadline. Interesting, questionable kind of call there, but I understand maybe they wanted it for something else. They re-signed Eklund. They bring in John Klingberg for 1 year. They're kind of just giving some veteran moves, especially what Chicago did last year to kind of bolster that team. But along with TJ Brody, who got bought out, wishing him all the best. But I did want to quickly talk about 2 more teams.
Me too.
And Ivan Provorov of the Columbus Blue Jackets. That was kind of the weirdest signing to me. I think that was probably, I don't want to say the worst, but it's not going to look good. He's an older player, 7 years, $8.5 million AAV. I mean, he's much older than you expect. I don't know why Columbus did this. Don Waddell is usually pretty good with contracts. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that right now they need to keep players, and supposedly they like him in the dressing room, even though there was talk a year ago that was not the truth, and they were trying to trade him. Where else are they going? Where are they going to grab him? So maybe they feel like they have the cap space, so they're just going to do it.
Yeah,
I'd be interesting. Do you know about no movement clause, no trade clause? Or
I'd have to double check what that was exactly, because I don't know if he had that. And the final team I wanted to get to is the Vancouver Canucks on my end. Besser, of course, picks up the phone, re-signs with the Vancouver Canucks for a 7-year deal. I know that there was a lot of interest in him. But as it stands, he's sticking around. Demko signs, which creates kind of a tight space in net, because you still have Shilovs coming off his AHL victory there with the Abbotsford Canucks. And you still have Lankinen. So is there a goalie on the move? And what does Vancouver do, given that they also re-signed and re-upped Connor Garland? And I know they're going to try to make Quinn Hughes happy because he's up in a year or 2 time. But your thoughts on the signings for Vancouver?
Yeah, great signings, even the Vander King. And don't forget, now that puts Seelovs in an interesting situation. That's the player I expect they'll trade, because I can't see him being happy now. He knows, I mean, what's he going to do? Wait for another Thatcher Demko injury? Yeah, I don't know. I think that he literally excelled 2 years in the playoffs dealing with the Abbotsford Canucks. Had I don't care how people blamed him for that Oilers series. Those guys were lighting it up on everybody, the Oilers. And the fact that he even got them as far as he got them to a 7th game, that was on sea loves, frankly. That would be my opinion. So great. But Bessner, considering that what was said about him and trying to trade him previously, I was shocked that he still stayed, but good on him. He must love where he is and really love his teammates.
All right. And I know you wanted to get to 2 teams. Were that one of them? Or?
No. So Buffalo, Ryan McLeod, former Oiler. Yeah. So there was someone that had actually posted today, and they said, I was after everybody saying they need to sign him for, I believe it was about $2.5 million for 8 years. Going into a signing, just offer him 2.5 over 8, so he's guaranteed. I don't think he would have taken it. It would have been about 3.5. Anyway, he just signed a $5 million 4-year extension. So congratulations to him. Don't see him worth $5 million, but obviously they do. And then the other part is the interesting news, because everyone thought Bowen Byron would be gone by now. They thought there'd be an offer sheet. All these things would be in place. Essentially, will Kevin trade him, or will he match an offer sheet? Because it sounds like, we're talking $10 to $12 million for this player. I actually have one scout specifically that said used to scout him in the W, and that's the WHL as part of Canadian Hockey League for those that aren't familiar. And they said they scouted him several times, and they say he was overrated. They believe the most overrated in his draft year. And then they also said, don't know if it's true or not, but I'm willing to, if people want source, they've gone public on X even, but they say that he would chirp people on the ice and specifically would say things to people like, hey, you're going to be a carpenter like your dad when I'm making millions. Those are the kinds of things. And he talked about family often. So he wasn't really well liked, supposedly, in junior. Don't know how that translated. Don't know how true that is. I don't want to make it up. I'm only quoting what someone else has said and has said it publicly. So interesting. I don't know who's going to trade for him. Will he excel better? Because he should have played better and had more points put up in Buffalo. He averaged 22 minutes a night. Any thoughts on Bowen Byron? And if he does go, where do you see him going?
I don't know. I know that Calgary has a lot of interest in him, and I know that that's been kind of the one sticking point, especially since they've got their own defenseman that they're trying to move, Rasmus Anderson, although they don't have to move from him. He's got 1 more year. But the way I look at it is they're very interested. I'm surprised it didn't work out in Colorado, given the work ethic that both Cale Makar, Gabriel Landeskog, and Nathan McKinnon bring to the table, and the expectations that they have in that team, along with Jared Bednar. Like, that is a very high functioning / high expectations organization. So I thought he would have succeeded there. Buffalo, you also need to stay the course. You need players to play there. You need to be able to make players happy, including Rasmus Dahlin. I know he signed, including Owen Power. You got to be able to have some kind of string of success, because you got to get into the postseason, because when you're not succeeding, people are raising their eyebrows and looking. So that's what you have to make sure you keep an eye on. But if he does get traded, would Buffalo really be upset if they got a first, second, and third, or whatever the compensation would be? And Jordan says 10 to 12 million a year. I haven't heard that much. I haven't heard that much either. I think it would be the second compensation, not the top echelon one.
Yeah, in order for a team to actually offer sheet them, they're going to have to give that much. Otherwise, they won't get them. That was what it was referred to, and that was on the Ray. Was it Ray and Drag show? So,
I don't know the show. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm Ray Ferraro and Darren Drager.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see that, but that's pretty much it. I know you wanted to get to some things around the rink, and I know that I want to jump the gun, but here we go. Around the rink.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
It's brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
Go ahead. Why don't you change that for us? Because they're no longer the Kalkaska Battlers. Do you remember the name?
It's coming to me. They're the Northern Michigan Warhounds, right?
Hell yeah. I've been wanting to do
We're
that.
going to have to change that up over the off season. But yeah, so thanks to them, they have rebranded, and we look forward to that continued wonderful partnership with them. You've got something around the rink. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you were talking about the NHL and the finalization, the 26 Winter Olympics. That whole deal has now come together. You guys need to understand that the IIHF has to work with the NHL to get players from there, because they're not just from there. They're from Sweden. They're from Liga. It's just that Canadian and America pretty much have all their guys out of the NHL specifically. So this does put us in a situation, and I'd like to get your thoughts. You're excited about Best on Best. You've been waiting for this one, but Russia will not be there once again. Thoughts?
I mean, what hasn't been said before? Is it really Best on Best if Russia's not there? I understand there's a geopolitical situation. I know Dominic Hasek would probably disagree, but you need Russia present there in order for them to see the real Best on Best. You're telling me that players like Kucherov, Panarin, players like Kirill Kaprizov, these guys who want to represent their country and make an impact, and maybe go without the Russian banner, but have a team that has those players, but maybe not under the Russian flag. I don't know, like do something because it's not really Best on Best until you have them there. And I think that's what it comes down to. Granted, there is a lot of stuff happening in the world, but is it really up to the players themselves? And not all the players. I'm not talking about Alexander Ovechkin. We know the ties he has with Vladimir Putin. But I really think I'm excited to see Best on Best. I know people are already talking about rosters and what it would look like, and it's going to change probably 300 times before we get to it in Italy. But I look at it as like Russia should be there at some capacity. If not, at least attempting to have them at the next 4 nations, or I guess it would be 6 and or 8 nations if the NHL ever hosts something like that again. Interesting,
man. Okay, so I actually have little news around the CHL as well, and the NCAA stuff again, just for you guys really quickly. The CHL, essentially, I got a few things here, and then I just got my finish off with my hockey history, Pavel. So one thing, CHL now is taking in 3 import players per team in the CHL, Canadian Hockey. That means WHL, OHL, and Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League. Okay, now that's a great sign. I had one father specifically recently tell me. Now his son used to play in the CHL. He used to play in the USHL. He says he sent him that route because it was faster. It was easier a way to get his scholarship, get to an NCAA team, because he couldn't go through the CHL. And he goes, with this new route, he goes, I would have taken that no matter what. Even if they didn't make the team, at least they could have still went back, right? And then taken a different route. We couldn't go NCAA no matter what. Now it wouldn't matter. And now that is even more interesting, is American players getting drafted into the CHL this year. Now the CHL is the place that players in America are starting to look at as enhancing their careers. 1 year ago, CHL teams drafted 3, OHL specifically, 3 Americans. And in 2025, they drafted 17. Big difference, and that doesn't happen unless they feel that they can not waste your draft pick and that these players are going to come play. So I think this is actually showing us that, hey, players want to play, obviously, in the CHL route, because you can go to the NCAA. And that's it for Around the Rink.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
Is brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
All right, let's get into a little hockey history before we finish up with our final thoughts and end of season.
Well, hey, before we do that, do just go out with it? Just do your final thought to finish, and then let's just end with it on that note, because it's kind of a cool note.
All right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's been a heck of a season, Evan. I've appreciated almost every single episode, be it at home or abroad, joining in
Yeah.
this year, talking all things hockey. It was a great season, a lot of great interviews. We thank every single person that took the time out of their busy schedule to come on the show, chat all things hockey, share their thoughts. For anyone who commented, liked, shared, and came onto the video, we appreciate you. We see you. We are looking forward to a bigger, a better, a more intense, and a more fun season 7. There will be more banters. There will be more rants, capital R. I will rant away if I need to. More Revs top 15, more around the rink, boy by the numbers, more everything. We've got it all jam-packed show ready for you next season.
And
I'm
some
looking
new
forward to it.
partnerships too, eh? Some new partnerships
are
hopefully.
starting up. We've got a lot in the oven cooking, so we're excited. It's been fun. I got to be honest. There was never a slow day, and I was always looking forward to this every Wednesday night. So beyond the one Friday, which was a little chaotic for me last Friday, but
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Evan. Thanks for the banters. Thanks for the good times. I'm looking forward to another season, and to thanks for the people tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from, whatever place in the world. Thank you for talking hockey. Your final thoughts.
Yeah, so same thing here. First of all, thank you to you for putting up with me and my quick reactions. And one thing I like is we just let it hang out on the show, guys. We try to go all natural. You know, sometimes we script more, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we argue a lot. Sometimes we actually don't have anything to argue about. Do we do it on purpose? Actually, sometimes we do. We got to be honest. We will actually purposely say, you take this side and I'll take this side. And we do it because we want to talk hockey and we love the passion like you guys do for the game of hockey. My big thing that I've been thankful, and I sent you a note this last week, but thank you so much for digging in on things like the draft and junior and stuff. Those are not things that just piqued your interest before, other than something here and there. And you spend countless hours. I'm just going to say throughout a year, you spend countless days on top of all the insights that you have to find out on all the different teams, and even trying to find out what's happening in different leagues. So definitely thank you. And thank you, the fans. I want to give a hats off to the state of Nevada being the #1 state. And throughout the year, there was only, I think, 2-3 episodes you were not the #1 state viewing us on Facebook. So thank you to the state of Nevada. But I also want to get Iowa and Idaho. Thank you to those states that have been picking up. Thank you to all of the states I might not have mentioned. I want to thank you guys over there. We had a few that have come out of Ukraine and Russia. Don't know how, don't know what you guys were doing, but you know what? You got a lot going on in life. Hopefully we were just a little moment of time to just take you away from all the awful crap that's going on in life over there. So thank you for trusting in us and checking us out for a moment or two. And then to Australia, of all places. I don't know how we get so many of you guys from Australia. I don't know if you Australians are just like Canadians and they like their hockey. They just don't have the ice for it, per se. So anyway, guys, it's been great. I know we're going to have one final go here, but that's my last thoughts. Love the show. Love the year. It's the best one yet. But, guys, it's getting better in Season 7 again. Anyway, okay. Why don't we cue it up? Go ahead, hit hockey history.
The Kalkaska Battlers presents Hockey History. Catch the Kalkaska Battlers as they compete in the APHL. Check the skills, speed, heart. Make sure you catch a game and experience the thrill of live hockey. Go Battlers.
All right, guys. So something I really wanted to talk about. Free agent frenzy. We just came off this, the last hockey history of the season. Let me talk to you about the curious case of the missing suitcase and the signed contract. Free agent frenzy day is known for its whirlwind. I wanted to give you something different. There's phone calls, there's frantic negotiation, last minute decisions, and sometimes the best stories aren't even about money. They're not about term. They're about the sheer human element that happens during this time. And so one such tale actually involves someone many of you know. He's the current general manager, Bill Guerin of the Minnesota Wild. I was going to say North Stars for all you older folks. But he's a respected veteran, known for his hard shot, his strong leadership on and off the ice. Back in 2007, he was one of the most highly sought out unrestricted free agents. And multiple teams were all vying for his services. And so they were all in deep discussions. So as the day approached, he, along with his agent, were traveling. And the plan was to be in this specific city to finalize a deal and potentially meet with the team brass. Now, as fate would have it, his luggage had his suit, and he intended to wear this beautiful, nice, good suit. And he's a suit guy. And it went missing. It just went missing. And so imagine the scene, a seasoned NHL vet about to sign this multi-million-dollar contract that will shape the next few years of his career. And he finds himself without the appropriate attire for this momentous occasion. And it might seem trivial, but it really is a moment of unexpected stress for a player. And I think in retrospect, you'd say humor amidst a high-pressure environment of free agency is a valuable thing. But despite the malfunction, the show, or rather the signing, went on. And he was resourceful. He managed to put together. So go back to 2007. You can see what he was dressed. If you can find him interviewing or having his signing and talking to the public where he was being signed. The deal was struck. He wore what he had to wear for that 2-year contract with the New York Islanders. Man, it was a dramatic day for him in that negotiation. But again, guys, that is hockey history.
The Kalkaska Battlers presents Hockey History. Catch the Kalkaska Battlers as they compete in the APHL. Check the skills, speed, heart. Make sure you catch a game and experience the thrill of live hockey. Go Battlers!
All right, Evan, we are at the end of our show, at the end of season 6. We are at the finale. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. G-Ran says, thanks for another great season. That's true. The hockey world does not have a shortage of stories, even just from this year, right? So it goes to show you how incredible and wonderful hockey, the game of hockey is, and how it inspires us, it moves us, it brings us together, it gets us talking, it gets us exciting, it gets us bantering. But we're going to finish off. We appreciate it. Remember, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time sometime this fall. But go back to our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our Twitter/X page, and our Instagram page. We have content there from previous episodes, previous interviews. Go on our website. We've got our former guests that we've had on, articles throughout the season. We've had fun. We've enjoyed ourselves. We've said our goodbye. Evan, any final thoughts before we finish?
In the famous words of the great Ed Whalen, it's been a ring-a-ding-ding-dong dandy, but in the meantime and in between time, Pavel,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. We love you.